They want to commit the genocide in darkness. The heart of our cause is that we as civilians, defenseless, have been targeted for 100 years.
Do you accept that after October the 7th, Hamas can have no place?
I've got a few clips from a Piers Morgan debate with a Palestinian ambassador where I thought there were some points made that could make for an interesting discussion. So if you can, leave us a like on the video. It lets us know you enjoy the content. It gives them a big boost in the algorithm. And let's see what context we can add.
What we saw on October 7th was not resistance. That was a mass terror attack on civilian population.
And any targeting of civilians.
Well, let's be clear about that. 3,000 Hamas terrorists came over the border in wave after wave, and they attacked and murdered and did other terrible things to as many civilians as they could get their hands on. They kidnapped babies, Holocaust survivors. They murdered hundreds of people at a music festival. In other words, nothing that they did that day can be categorized as legitimate resistance or military action. Do you agree?
I hear you, but you need to hear me.
Yeah, but you agree with me?
That's the 7th of October.
Yeah, but you agree with me?
Targeting civilians is absolutely, utterly rejected. And we, the Palestinian people, must always return the moral high grounds. Our issue, the heart of our cause, is that we as civilians, defenseless, have been targeted for 100 years, so we better not do it ourselves.
I do think this sort of forcing the victim to condemn actions taken against their oppressor is kind of disgusting, as if to say, oh, well, what about the gangs, in response to like a black person speaking about the KKK. But this is what I'll say to it. I do think calling October 7th resistance is a bit dystopian. It misses the point a bit. It's unempathetic to the victims, especially to what it represents to the survivors and their families as well. But what should not go without mentioning is that October 7th was absolutely a response to the last 5 decades of oppression, of apartheid, of occupation. I mean, it didn't happen in a vacuum, and acting like it did will just allow these things to continue to happen, right? If the conditions that led up to it don't change, nothing else will.
Just first of all, what is your reaction to that, to the fact that journalists simply aren't allowed in?
It's very clear. Israel knows if journalists will be allowed in, if the UN is allowed in, if the international institutions will be in, they will be finding out much more than what we already know. And what we already know is horrific. And they know they have something to hide. That's why they are preventing you. Really? They care about your safety?
No.
Are they kidding me? Are they kidding you? This is silly and ridiculous. They want to commit the genocide in darkness. But guess what? The heroism of our journalists, they killed more than 180 of them. The heroism of our people, including children, for the first time in history, documenting their own execution, Piers, and conveying it to the world. And unlucky the Israelis, there is social media now.
And social media has forever changed the way in which these things will happen, will be viewed, and that we can all firsthand see what's going on in real time, which is a large part of why Israel is fighting so hard, tooth and nail, to prevent independent journalists from getting into Gaza, because once their photos, their videos, their reporting gets online, the world can no longer deny it. I mean, when it's Palestinian journalists, they can rely on Islamophobia to write them off as Hamas terrorists. When doctors speak up, they can write them off as working with Hamas. Same with human rights organizations, even the UN. But if we had firsthand pictures, right, verified reporting, death tolls, denial will only get you so far.
Do you accept that after October the 7th, Hamas can have no place in any future government in Gaza for the Palestinians after this war? Do you accept that?
It's not just me. Hamas itself has accepted.
But do you agree that cannot be allowed?
Of course. And that's, you asked me about Hamas. I represent the state of Palestine.
Yes, I know.
Okay? And the people of Palestine.
Yes.
Hamas is a political group. And guess what? We have more than 20 political groups. If you want the opinion of the state and the government of Palestine, Palestine needs a government that represents the Palestinian people, represent the unity of our people, the unity of our geography, Gaza, the West Bank and East Jerusalem, and the unity of our political system. So far, our government, the existing government, is made of technocrats. Not Fatah, not Hamas, not anybody. The committee that we agreed with Egypt and other mediators to form to care for Gaza, administer Gaza for an interim period, was made of technocrats.
These kind of talking points are annoying because I found they largely just work as distractions, a way to keep the conversation focused on, oh, Palestinian equal Hamas, or Palestinians support Hamas, therefore Hamas, right? When Hamas has said that they wouldn't be in power, they've said that they would step down if it meant that Israel would end the occupation in Gaza. I mean, their leadership at this point is buried under rubble anyway. Anyone who orchestrated October the 7th is dead and gone. You've also got to think Hamas won an election 17 years ago when the majority of the current population wasn't old enough to vote. And when Hamas won, it won less than a majority of the vote, in which at the time a majority of the population also wasn't old enough to vote. I think it was like 900,000 of 1.4 million couldn't vote, leaving like 500,000 people to vote, in which Hamas got, I think, like 43 or 44% of the vote. Rough numbers there. Various polls since then have shown nothing but declining support. Palestinians just need help propping up other national movements and for Israel to stop slaughtering them so they can hold elections. I mean, it's the death and destruction with no end seemingly being in sight that breeds the kind of ideology that leads to Hamas and support of them.